Well, welcome everyone. We're excited that you're here, and this is one of our favorite days. Before that, I want to say hi to uh what do I want to call it? My partner in books, I guess is the best way to say that. This is Rebecca Yager. How's Dallas today, Rebecca?
Rainy. It is spring in Dallas, and so that means fun spring weather. But everything good in Indiana?
Same, we're getting sprinkling rain,
Yeah.
so same thing, yes. Hopefully that'll make all of our grass and flowers grow. We like that. Um, yeah, so we're excited because this is our favorite day. We get to talk to authors. And so we are here with Tricia and Nathan Goyer, who co-wrote a story called Breath of Bones, which is a really, really interesting story. We're on a World War II kick, but this is our second different version of World War II. So we
Third,
have another
honey.
one. Oh, is this our
Third.
third?
It's our
Oh,
third.
sorry, third version of World War II. So we've done it all different ways, and this is yet another way, and we're here to talk about that with them. But first, Rebecca's going to read a little bit about them so we can know a little more about them before we get
Yeah,
started.
let's introduce you to Nathan and Tricia. Tricia should be well known to anybody in the Christian fiction community. Author, speaker, podcaster, homeschooling mom. Tricia Goyer, a passionate writer fueled by her love for God, family, and community, has authored over 90 books spanning accurate historical fiction and inspiring nonfiction on family and parenting. She's received many nominations and awards in the Christian publishing industry. She also hosts two podcasts, The Tricia Goyer Show and the Daily Bible Podcast. And also our two for one today, two authors for one podcast, Nathan Goyer. Nathan is an upstart designer and science fiction author who has been writing since he was young. Can't imagine why. He has written the novel Basque City of Shadows and solo developed the mobile RPG game Heedless, which has surpassed 30,000 downloads. After graduating with a Bachelor of Science from the University of Arkansas Little Rock, he is now pushing forward with new endeavors, including writing alongside his fellow author and mother, Tricia. Hey, so thank y'all for being here. We do appreciate your time, especially both of you. All right, how did this happen? I mean, I know you're mother and son, but you're two different genres. How did y'all decide to write together and then come up with a mixture of such various genres here?
Yeah, Nathan, did you want to go first?
Sure, sure. So, obviously I've been writing for a long time. My mother has been pushing me to write and help and just not necessarily pushing me, just letting me write and letting me write whatever I wanted to. And it kind of became the thing a few years ago where I started trying to push my mom a little bit, like, ooh, what if you wrote kind of more fantasy stuff, more science fiction stuff? Which I guess kind of got the gears turning in her head because then she approached me and was like, "What if we did the story of the Golem, but during World War II, and it's steampunk?" So it was kind of like the combination of you know all this time pestering her, trying to get her to write more fantasy stuff, and then her coming up with this really cool idea, and then from there we were able to start writing Breath of Bones.
That's cool. So, Tricia, you were ready to delve into this brave new world, although I presume that Nathan wrote most of the steampunk side of it, and you
He
used
did
it.
write a lot of the steampunk. I added some more descriptions. But so I went to the Realm Makers conference with Nathan.
Mhm.
How many times did we go? You three times, Nathan? Three or four times. Can't remember. And I was just amazed by this young energy of people writing speculative fiction, whether it's fantasy, sci-fi, steampunk. I started reading some of these books. I'm like, they're really cool. I love all these elements. I love Morgan Bussey's um Mist Shadow. What is the Mist
Mhm.
one?
Yeah, we
She's
know.
been a guest of ours,
Yeah, yes,
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, so I was like, I'm like, oh, steampunk is really cool. And so I was actually sweeping in our like little dining room area, and our daughter, so Nathan's older sister is a missionary in the Czech Republic, and so we've been to Prague many times. It's never been bombed in a war. There's been war in there, but never like bombed and wiped out. And so all the old castles and cathedrals, the St. Charles Bridge, the cobblestones there. So fell in love with it. We were able to go to the Jewish district and walk around. And I was sweeping, and there's a shelf of those books, all the books I got in Prague, and like one stood out to me, The Golem of Prague. And that's like when I'm sweeping, my mind was just turning like steampunk, Golem, and I'm like, Nathan, and he was on his computer in my living room, like doing something. I don't know what he's doing. I'm like, Nathan, what about this? And he's like, wow, yeah, cool. And so it just kind of took off from there. And it's fun mix because I did a lot of the historical accuracy. So all the events that are like Nazi related, actual stuff in the underground resistance, those are true. So all the dates things happened, the times thing happened, those are true. And then Nathan came up with, we could blow this up. This is going to happen. And I was like, whoa. I mean, and it was fun for me because most of my historical novels are like romance or just
Mhm.
liberation of a concentration camp, but they're very kind of level. And he brought in a lot of the excitement, a lot of the steampunk. He came up with the spider tanks, the descriptions of that. And so it was so fun because I felt like I was hearing about it as a new person, like, oh, that would be so cool, or no way that could happen. And the character would do that. So I'm like discovering it with him. And so he did like a lot of the rough draft, and I went in and added more, fill in the history parts. He'd sometimes put like insert history here for the historical parts. And so it was a really nice mix. We're on book 3 now. And it's a nice mix of, I'm on newspapers.com, like finding actual newspapers from the time, finding the real history, and then he's like taking it and like these whole other levels to it. So it's been really fun.
I would be like you, Nathan. I'd be like, insert history here. And somebody else
Yes,
could do that.
yes. I definitely think that that kind of combination really helped a lot. And though I would say, I'd like to add that, Mom has surprised me a number of times. Like, what if we did this thing? It's some crazy steampunk idea or some crazy fantastical idea. I'm like, I cannot believe my mom just came up with that. So I think you'd be surprised in what I wrote in there and what she wrote.
So you could be a fantasy author, Tricia, and you didn't even
I
know
know.
it.
I'm like, it's this whole new part of my brain is like clicked on now. So
That's awesome. I love fantasy and all this. I thought the steampunk stuff was really cool, and the spider tanks were very interesting. They really added that kind of consistent steampunk because they were always around, so that was like kind of the consistent steampunk where you have all the other stuff that's historical and you've got, things that were, more the normal historical stuff, but that those tanks and all of the other like little devices that Katerina used and things. I thought those were really added a lot to the steampunk
No,
theme.
that Joseph and Samuel created in the book, all their
That, yeah,
inventions,
all
right?
that too. Yes, I know, but they weren't always on the page, There was
Yes.
always those other things that were
Yeah.
like kind of always going on in the background that you were like, oh, there's a tank hiding around the corner or something. Um, Yeah, so I like that. But I personally really enjoyed the legend part because that I'm
Mhm.
into that part of fantasy. I like the legends and the all the lore and all of that stuff. So that really appealed to me. How the you tied in that legend and made it come, into the like the old legend and how you changed it, to fit the new theme. I thought that was really interesting. So how'd you come up with, you said all the resistance stuff was real, but how did you come up with the idea of the new golem? Like,
Nathan, you have to answer that because he made it new. We found the legend together. We had heard about it when we were in Prague before, but he's the one that came up with like, this is how we're going to take it to World War II.
okay.
Yeah, because when I was doing like research and stuff on the Legend of the Golem, there was a lot of different kind of stories. There were the stories where the golem was like this great protector, that helped the people. There were the stories where the golem went crazy and attacked people. And then there was times when it was just kind of like a gentle giant that would just do what it's told. So it was kind of trying to find that balance, and I wanted to combine all those kind of different legends into the story and those different aspects of the golem, and kind of combining that with, you know, the main thing why the golem was made was to be a initially a protector. And so obviously during World War II, the Jewish people needed protecting. So it's kind of bringing that in, and kind of the idea that, hey, this is this old legend, but maybe the people would have wanted to bring it back to life when they're in the danger of the, you know, the Nazi Germany.
Well, I like,
This is
yeah.
interesting to me. Sorry, Rebecca.
No, it's fine.
Um,
Go ahead.
no, this is interesting because so much of what you're talking about, the World War II history is all based on fact, is true for what happened in Prague. By the way, felt like I was in Prague.
Hmm.
Very, very
Yes.
good. Was very much into the story. And then you've got the legend, which is a real legend.
A real legend,
Does
yes.
that make
Yeah.
sense? A real legend
A real legend.
that
Yeah.
that you just taken it a step forward and dropped it into World War II. So maybe that's why the book just had, I was there.
Yes.
It was,
I
and
was just in Prague in December. So I went over to visit. We have one daughter in the Czech Republic and two other daughters in Poland. And I got to go to Prague for the day by myself. My daughter still she teaches at a university. She still had her job. My son-in-law was with the kids and they're like, go, mom. It was like a 2.5 hour train ride from where they live. So I got to go. And of course, I go to the Jewish district and my hunt is for any golem stuff because we had seen it there before and I knew I wanted to bring back souvenirs. And so they have they have a Jewish museum. They have the Jewish cemetery there. All those places are there. The old new synagogue is still there, and there's just tourists mulling around. And they have like bridge paintings and all these different things. And I'm like looking. I see a table with just golem like little statues, and they're the clay golem. And I just remember going up like, it's the golem. I want 5 of these and 3 of these, and I'm just like so excited to find the golem. They have no idea that we have totally recreated the Golem of World War II. But because I was so excited, all these other people started coming and they were talking about the legend. And so soon he had like 5 or 6 people buying stuff, buying Golem things. All the other stalls were empty. But I'm like, no, I think I stirred up some interest about the Golem. He's like, thank you so much. And so we like almost cleaned out his little table buying all the little Golem things. But it's a legend in Prague, but I think a lot of people don't really know about it. It was easy to overlook. And so it's fun taking this old thing that, people that are maybe history majors might know about this, but it was a very real thing in Prague in their history that the Jewish people had because they've been persecuted for centuries. This is World War II isn't something new, which was also a surprise to me when I started researching the Jews in Europe. I mean, it's just been centuries and centuries of persecution. So this is just like a resurrection of it.
Well, it was really a cool idea. And I maybe it's kind of why the like, the all the fairy tale things that people bring forward in time, it's kind of that same idea.
Mhm.
There's got this legend that certain people know about, and then you transport it into another time, and then you add the other genre, and it just totally transforms the story into something new and interesting and exciting. Um, Tell us about Katerina as a character. How did you come up with her story? Because it was quite, we don't do spoilers, but just there's a lot to her, a lot.
Yeah. I would say Katerina because we had to figure out who would interact to go into the Jewish district. Like what would be the reason? And we could just say right from the beginning, because I think it's right from the beginning that she's a newspaper reporter.
Hmm.
And during the war, the Czech Republic or Czechoslovakia at the time, that was the first place the Germans went into. And so right away, they were trying to control the newspaper. They were controlling who had jobs, who didn't have jobs. They were rounding people up for workforces. And then later, the Jews, they were rounding those up and taking them to concentration camps. So this was happening before like the war in France or the war in
Hmm.
Belgium, other places. It was all in Czechoslovakia first. And so just knowing like who would be going in, so we made her a reporter. And then the fact that her dad's trying to squelch down, like she's trying to report what's happening. But if you do, and this is all again right at the beginning, but if you
Yeah.
do, like there's a lot of problems that will come to you. So it's this mix of what is the truth, but what can we share? We're going to put our lives in danger. And then what happened? There's this event that happens that she's like, I don't know what's happening. So she really has to dig. And that's kind of like her trying to find the truth. And then it's the truth that she had no idea that there's more going on below the surface of what's happening in that area. And so that was like the fun part as we are weaving in this that's a fictional part of it. Like these other things that are happening with the underground. Now, the underground was there, they were
Mhm.
very active, but we just gave them different weapons that Nathan made up and had different things going on with them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was one of the things I picked out kind of as a theme is, there's this tension between hiding and fighting, and it's really strong throughout the story is this tension, between do we fight, do we hide? And I think, that comes through in the golem because of the different sides, as you mentioned, of the golem. He's got the protector side and then he's got the meek side. And I loved how he was different with Yosef versus Katerina because of the differences in their ideas too of like what they all wanted to fight, but they wanted to fight in different ways. And I thought it was so interesting. And of course, Katerina and her had some conflict with her father. We won't talk a whole lot about that, but in his way, he was fighting too. She just didn't understand
Mhm.
exactly how. And I,
Yeah.
I thought that was just really cool, to see that kind of come through the whole thing. And I think if you look back in history, right, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like that's always been a problem with the
Mhm.
Jews. Like they've always been divided on whether to fight or whether to hide. And so it kind of mimics that idea historically as well with what
Yeah,
you
and
put in there.
absolutely. And I think a lot of them, they didn't know how bad things were going to get, right? So
Yeah.
first their jobs were taken away, and no one had any idea what was going to be happening. And so I think as they're going along, you want to just hide until you can't anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that was really good between Nathan and I as we talked about these things. It was, we had like a lot of philosophical talks too. Like, what should these characters do and how should they act and react? And like, where is faith in this
Mhm.
when you're being persecuted and hunted? And should people stand up? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we talked about to make the characters kind of battle that. And we had conversations about that, like, should they do this or that? So,
Mm.
Yeah, I think it comes out and it shows. All right, that's a deep subject, very serious. Nathan, how much fun did you have thinking of all these cool weapons that they coming up with the weapons and the things they invented there? I mean, your brain must really work in a whole spectacular way.
It was a lot of fun, and it was interesting because when I was kind of letting my mother kind of take the not necessarily take the lead for designing the all the different kind of inventions and stuff like that, and the different weapons. But because at first it was going to be like only the golem was like the only fantastical thing, and I'm like, okay, if that's what you want to do, we'll do that. But then later she's like, well, we can do this too, we can do this too, and I'm like, okay, now that's the time to strike. So then I started pitching more and more ideas and more ideas, and she was like, okay, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. So it's kind of that growth from there that kind of really transformed the story from being the kind of where it was almost completely historical fiction to becoming this kind of combination now. But there was a lot of fun. There was also I got to have some talks with either my brother Corey or my dad because they are also huge into sci-fi, and they helped me come up with some great ideas as well. So it was a group effort, but it was a lot of fun the entire time.
I would have liked to have been a fly in the wall in
Yeah.
your house during this process. I think it would have been great.
A successful group effort, I think, because
Yeah.
it's just such a odd blend of genres. I basically can't get over that. And the fact that I enjoyed the book so much. And Rebecca's laughing at that because I'm not the fantasy or sci-fi or steampunk reader at all. And so y'all did something right because I got
Oh,
into the book a lot more than, I suspected I would. So it was really
I love
good.
that. And I think that was my big concern when I started, because my readers are
Mhm.
pure historical fiction. And my other World War II books are like like Liberation of a Concentration Camp or women air service pilots or kind of their things. And so I'm like, will these readers follow us over into this genre? And like you were saying, people are like, "Oh, that is so cool." Like they're kind of like, "I don't know what to think." But Tricia Goyer's name on it, I know the history will be
Mhm.
there. And so I think they've been pleasantly surprised. Like I was when I started reading a lot more speculative fiction. I'm like, "Ooh, I really like this. Ooh, I like how they did that." Because the cool thing is that you can show weapons or you could have kind of mystical type of things happen that just take the story to another level. But you, and that really makes you think about the characters, like what would they do or how would they use this? But it kind of like you can explore things in a different way, like the fight. Like we could fight with a gun or we could fight with a big gun or explosive things or different
Mhm.
things. And it just makes you think of taking the story to different levels too, as you're going along.
Yeah, I think people who don't read spec fiction, they don't, I think they think it's all just like woo and there's no depth or or profundity to it, and I feel like that is the major like miscommunication between people who read it and people who don't is I think we talk a lot about the fantasy or the paranormal or whatever the aspect is that makes it speculative. And we forget that these people, a lot of them are looking for more depth. And so we don't talk about that always. And most of the fantasy or the other sci-fi, whatever genre it is, there is a lot of depth to it. The good stories, the authors who are really at the top of their game, there's tons of depth to these stories. And there's a lot of, like you said, philosophical ideas that are being put forth that really get you to think about the world as it is today in its reality and what it could be like or what it is like, kind of looking at it from a different perspective. It gives you
Mm-hmm.
just a different viewpoint of what's really going on, and you can kind of see things that you might not see based on the reality that we live in. That's
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah, and I think also because Nathan reads a lot. My other kids, my Leslie and Nathan are they're my three oldest, and they read a lot. And so the conversations they have when they go to movies, they're like, well, this character arc, and they talk at levels I don't remember ever talking, like with unless I go to writers' conferences. And so they're aware a lot of those things, but just from reading in general. And I think there's been times like I almost wanted to give the characters an easier way out in some parts. And Nathan's like, no, mom, we can't do that. Like, they wouldn't do that. Or I'm like, oh, you're right. Like, I don't know, kind of pushed it even more to like not just give them, to make things harder for them, to have more philosophical questions, to think through things a little bit differently, like how they would really react. And I'm like, okay, this is, it was challenging. I think a lot of people might think that I did a lot of it and Nathan just came along and put some weapons and stuff. But no, it was a lot of how they would act, how they would react, what should the major problems be. That was a lot of Nathan. I'm like, okay, well, this is taking this to again another level that I haven't hit in my books. So it was super fun, and I have to say, it was kind of also a proud homeschooling mom moment. I'm like, wow, Nathan, like you just came up with that, and I taught you how to read. So like that's really cool.
I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
It sounds like y'all pushed each other though. You really were able to bounce those ideas off and just again take it deeper, which is what we're taught, all the writing conferences, okay, then what? Then what? What if?
Hmm.
What if? So great way to push each other.
Yeah.
Um, and so you're obviously doing this again because I know there's one more book that's coming, but did you say there's a third? When we were off
Yeah,
camera?
Nathan, you want to tell them about it, or just in general?
Yeah, just in general. Yeah, we have book two that is coming out pretty soon in June, right?
I think it's July. July.
July. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. So book two is coming out in July. That one's already done, already written. And we are working on book three as well. So that is coming.
So what's the title of book two? I had it in front of me, but
It's Flight of Fate,
Okay.
Flight
and it
of Fate.
has the coolest cover. It's a dirigible, which is an airship, and it's just amazing. It looks really cool. We don't have uh, the, the cover or the title for book three yet. So we're still
Not
working
yet.
through it. Yeah. And
Okay.
it's like it's so cool. I'll just say this. It's so cool because elements that were kind of like put in there for book one, we're realizing like, oh, in book three, this was important. And that is the fun part is when
Hmm.
you kind of toss things in, like, oh, this might show up later, but maybe not. And then later realizing like, oh, this is going to be a big thing that's super important. And there's some elements of like, okay, now explain this to me, Nathan, again, how this is going to work. Because it's really cool. That's all, it's really hard talking about, but it's really cool. The elements in book one and then book two, it takes place, we can say this, it takes place in Prague and in Naples,
Hmm.
because Mount Vesuvius erupted during World War II, which is what buried Pompeii. So we can say those are elements that are in there. And then book three is just even like another level of interesting fantasy things. We'll just put it like that.
Okay.
Oh, fun. So
Awesome.
obviously y'all enjoy writing together enough to keep this going here for
Yes.
three books. And
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
no, that's really great. Okay. And after this, do y'all have any solo projects that you're working on, or is this just taking up all your time right now?
I always have solo projects I'm working on. A split time romance novel with a friend. So it's part of it takes place in the 80s and part of it takes place modern day. It's a second chance romance. I have some children's stuff in the works. And I told Nathan the other day, I'm like, Nathan, what about after book three? And he's like, let's just finish book three, Mom. Yeah.
Yeah. My mom can definitely, she's the type, she can have five books going at one time.
Mhm.
I'm not quite at that level yet. So I definitely have some stuff I plan to write in the future, but I'm more of a in the moment, let's get this series wrapped up. Let's get this done, and then I'll think about what comes next.
Well, that's good. Hey, that's stuff to look forward to. So this summer, then, though, Flight of Fate will come out. So let's look forward to book two. But meanwhile, they haven't picked up book one, Breath of
Oh,
Bones. Actually, Trisha, you've got the real
Yep,
cover.
Trisha's
Yeah,
got the real
instead of my
thing.
yep, got it
picture.
right there. And
Woohoo.
and
Yay.
Yosef and Katarina are on there. So
Yes,
Mhm.
which I liked. I like that you see
I
the
did
the
too.
golem and you see Joseph and Katerina, and so the images are there as you're
I
reading.
love the cover. And I will show you this. So it's a hardback. This is my first hardback that I've had. And it has like gold embossing.
I
Oh,
love
And then
it.
even the spine is gold. So it's so
that's
cool. And
neat.
I took it to a recent homeschool conference and I underestimated how much people would be excited about it, and I sold out like the first day.
Oh,
So
wow.
I had to take more, and I had to order more, and I had to take more next time. So, like again, young people are especially are loving, but although it's not just for young people, I,
Yeah, thank
people
you.
my age like coming and like, where's that book? And yeah, I ran out. Sorry. So I'm taking more next time to the next conference.
Okay. Well, that's
Because I
awesome.
think it's just such an unexpected blend of
Yeah.
genres. Like I said, I think it's just totally fascinated me to have that, which I love it with writing. Let's keep it going and let's get more people reading.
Yes.
Either
Yes.
way, so good. Any other final thoughts, Rebecca? Hello, Ziva. Ziva's
Yeah,
the
Siva
dog you
showed
see
up.
right there.
She's in rare form. She wants to be played with right now, which is like always the thing when we're talking on here. She's like,
She's a
come on,
regular.
mom, play. No, we can't right now. So anyway, no, yeah, you definitely need to pick up Breath of Bones and keep your eyes open for Flight of Fate and whatever the third one ends up being, because I'm sure it'll be fantastic as well. We're so thankful for you guys to be on here. It was really fun chatting with you about this such an interesting topic with the blends and things. So thanks a lot. And let's see. What do we have coming up next?
Uh, we have you. coming
Oh,
up next.
I'm sorry.
We're
You're
going to talk
right.
about you.
June.
We are
Yes,
talking
we're
about
gonna.
shifting things. We're going to discuss your book next month. But meanwhile, let's go back to Breath of Bones. We'll talk about you, Rebecca, shortly. Follow us. We're at RebeccaandRebecca.com. We're on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, any place you want to view or listen to your podcasts. And meanwhile, Nathan and Tricia, thank you for writing such a fascinating book and for being here. And two names to keep an eye on in the future, Nathan
Oh, thank
Goyer and
you.
of course Tricia. We look forward to anything you write.
Oh,
So,
thank you. Thank you for
Oh, thank
having
you
us
so much.
too.
all right, y'all
Yeah, thank you
take
so
care.
much.
All right. Thanks again. We'll see
Okay.
everyone next time.
Bye.
Okay.